Let's talk about something that's affecting thousands of families in Ireland, but barely gets the attention it deserves. The hidden abuse called parental alienation. We now have the real science research data available on parental alienation, and it's a game changer. In 2025, Joshua Marsden, psychology researcher who studies internationally recognized adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, reviewed over 150 peer-reviewed studies, and found that research undertaken on parental alienation is solid. Not junk pseudoscience, but real, rigorous, objective scientific work. According to sociologist Edward Crook and associate professor, psychologist Jennifer Harman, and many other experts worldwide, parental alienation is undeniably a form of psychological abuse. It's not just messy family drama. It is in reality one-way conflict targeted at children, and the other usually non-custodial parent. One parent manipulates a child to turn against the other loving, non-abusive parent, causing real harm, sometimes for life. Associate Professor Jennifer Harman's research estimates over 13% of U.S. parents report as being victims of parental alienation. That's millions. And Ireland's numbers are climbing too, as parental alienation is reported more and more in family courts. It is being used both as a false abuse allegation, as are all forms of abuse in Irish courts and social services cases, by an abuser, but also more frequently utilized as a common form of child abuse and coercive control of a child and parent. No statistics are recorded for parental alienation or false allegations in Irish family courts, meaning that no one knows the real size of these connected societal child abuse problems. All Ireland knows is that they harm children for life. Developmental psychologist Amy Baker and psychologist Douglas Darnall together mapped 17 abusive alienating tactics: bad-mouthing the other targeted parent, limiting contact with other targeted parent, erasing other targeted parent's memories, forcing child to choose sides, creating a sense of abandonment, forbidding discussion of targeted parent, making other targeted parent a stranger, seeking child's emotional support, spying on other targeted parent's life, creating child's false narratives, sabotaging time with other targeted parent, fostering fear of other targeted parent, making child feel guilty for loving other targeted parent, blaming other targeted parent for everything wrong, undermining other targeted parent's authority, threatening to abandon the child, sharing adult issues with child. Respected Irish psychotherapist, author, and TV presenter Richard Hogan stated that being denied the right to love your child is one of the most destructive and disturbing experiences a parent can go through. We must protect children, not facilitate it. Also, practicing barrister and public representative in the Irish Parliament Barry Ward stated that parental alienation is cruel, it is child abuse, and should be a crime. Organizations mistakenly believe that parental alienation is covered in coercive control legislation, but it is not, but evidently should be a crime. But here's the kicker. A well-resourced and influential international campaign is actively discrediting this scientific peer research. The campaign, which employs allied, non-critical media outlets, repeatedly publishes biased stories filled with emotional half-truths and misinformation on parental alienation. These stories often conflate and mix up justified estrangement with parental alienation, or portray unproven abuse allegations as definitive fact, perpetuating the no smoke without fire fallacy when the abuse is found to be unproven. There is an increasing global scientific effort to identify, expose, and combat misinforming organizations. Child and forensic psychiatrist Professor William Burnett and legal attorney Yakov Eichenbaum and others have documented this tirade of misinformation and are shining a light on the reality of parental alienation. The stakes are high. Kids are the ones losing out, often on a happy, loving childhood. So what can Ireland do? First, Irish policymakers must officially recognize parental alienation as a child abuse and welfare crisis. They must also take proactive steps to prevent this form of silent emotional abuse. Government research shows we need better training and assessment in courts and social services. Imagine Ireland has no guidelines or recommendations for dealing specifically with parental alienation or parental estrangement in either family law or social services cases. Second, overhaul the family justice system to intervene as soon as possible in family conflict cases. Train every judge, lawyer, social worker. Teach them how to identify alienating behaviors. Ensure children's voices are actually heard and are not manipulated, not just assumed like at present. Imagine there are no guidelines or recommendations by the Irish government or its departments or agencies on how to identify the manipulated or coerced voice of a child. Third, fix the laws to have consequences for parental alienation and for all false allegations of abuse. This has already been legislated for in coercive control cases. Why should parental alienation abuse stop when there are no consequences for committing this abuse on a child? Recognize parental alienation as psychological abuse. Include it as domestic violence, coercive control, and child abuse. Give courts power to intervene and protect children and mothers and fathers. Ramp up support services and research, giving families a path to heal, recover, not just fight in court. It is unbelievable that there are currently no services in Ireland for alienated mothers, children, and grandparents, and very minimal, ineffective services for alienated fathers in Ireland. Finally, support the international case for parental alienation inclusion as a distinct diagnostic category in future DSM and ICD revisions. This is urgent. The science is clear. The solutions are on the table. It's time for action. Postscript to the Irish Minister of Justice. The recent welcomed recommendations by his department to enable advocates for children and family court reporting aloud will not protect alienated children unless their genuine, non-manipulated voices are heard. Also, how will family court reporting work objectively and effectively when the reporter is unable to differentiate between justified parental estrangement and unjustified parental alienation? Sadly, the judiciary, politicians, media, and NGOs often mix up these two very different behaviors, creating emotional, poor legal and social services judgments that are unseen and unscrutinized by media and the public under the cover of the in-camera rule. Contact your public and community representatives, get them to act now. This is a crisis and needs to be stopped for the sake of our children and also to make Ireland a proud country where zero tolerance of abuse is our standard behavior.